Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Welcome to what will likely be the second solo unoriginal cast of all time. I will be bringing you guys the second game of this match between Goody and Whitera, and I'm super excited, like I was the first, to see how this match plays out. Again, both these players are absolutely fantastic, and Whitera, I feel, is super solid. He has gotten much more so. This is a fairly old game, actually. I think it was from January of this year. You can tell this by the fact that it's on this map, which I believe is called Jungle Basin. It is a 1v1 map, of course, with only 2 spawning locations, so you always know where your opponent is. And this usually tends to make games take slightly less time. It doesn't necessarily make them rushes, but it will tend to make them less macro games, especially on this map where you have so few bases. There are only 6 expansions available. None of them are gold, so that's quite interesting for a map. It's also interesting to note the fact that the natural has rocks guarding it instead of just being totally separated. So while it may seem like it is totally secluded, and very well defended, these rocks can be destroyed, and that's something that players oftentimes can forget about. That can make a huge difference. You really have to make sure that you remember to guard that area, because if that gets taken down and your natural gets taken down at around the 12-minute mark or something like that, you're going to be in a world of hurt. That's going to make a huge difference in the rest of the game. So you really have to watch out for that expansion. Though it seems like it has that extra defense, it really is sort of an illusion. Anyways, that aside, we're going to be seeing a fairly normal game from both players. We see Whitera going for his assimilator before his second pylon. I'm always a little confused about which one I should do when it comes to this. I don't think it really matters a ton, but it always confuses me, so that's why I bring it up. Anyways, we're going to see a wall in from Goody. We're also going to see this probe running around, damaging these poor little SCVs a little, softening them up for Whitera later in the game, if it comes to matter. It's always a big thing that he's a huge fan of, as I've said before. It looks like this probe will be able to get away very safely, only taking 5 damage, which is surprisingly high for a probe, because that means an SCV hit it 4 times, but as Protoss you can get away with that due to the fact that you have your shields, so Whitera is not concerned about that probe, unless I am very much mistaken. Anyways, we see a Marine on the ramp, sort of protecting it. We'll also see a fairly early wall incoming from Goody. It seems like he's expecting some sort of early pressure, so we'll see if Whitera decides to put that on and Goody reads him correctly, or if he does not. I do not know if Whitera knows about this. It looks like he knows that there was a partial wall off. He doesn't know what he completed it with. He doesn't know if that was a factory or a supply depot or what have you. So he doesn't know exactly what's going on in his opponent's base. But we see here that the factory will be going down at the ramp to Goody's natural, which I think is kind of interesting. I guess he's preparing for some sort of assault coming from his natural, which is a good thing to be prepared about, because it can happen, and good chance that it will, just due to the fact that that's such a good attack route if you can get it down. We'll also see Goody be going for fairly early double gas with 3 SCVs on both, fully saturated. We're probably going to see some sort of Banshee play due to this high gas income. Usually we'll see something like that, and it looks like he will be going for a 1-1-1 build. Recently the 1-1-1 got fairly nerfed, or at least, 1-on-1 didn't really get nerfed as far as the playstyle, where you're not all-inning, you're not going for a huge timing attack, you're just going 1-1-1. But the fact that barracks got delayed for 5 seconds makes it a lot harder to get that timing down, and the fact that Immortalist got an extra range. But this is a really old game, so that doesn't apply at all. I don't feel like we're going to see an all-in, though. It just doesn't feel like it, especially due to the fact that Goody is going for... Actually, I'm not really sure. I play Terran, so it's kind of sad that I don't know exactly what constitutes a 1-1-1. But yeah, I think at this point we'd see a fairly different build coming from him. But it looks like we will be seeing some Banshee harassment coming from him. We have cloaking on the way. And I really like what Whitera's doing here. He's going for a fairly fast expansion. I'm not sure. He hasn't scouted anymore. He doesn't know exactly what's going on in his opponent's base. However, whether it's just flat out luckiness or his game sense or whatever, he has managed to make the right move for what Goody has done. Goody is in a very defensive position, and it would be very hard to break this. So instead of putting on units, instead of getting tons of offensive units, whether it is to defend or attack, White Rose is going for a lot of economy, so he'll have a very solid start to this game. This is going to benefit him a lot. We see a Banshee coming out of Goody's base now, and this will be able to do quite a bit of damage if White Rose is not prepared for it, but I feel like he probably is. This is a fairly standard move for a Terran player to do in this matchup, and it looks like that probe will be able to scout it. He was sort of patrolling around there, seeing what's waiting for him. The Stalker will be coming around, as well as 2 more warping in. So Goody will be able to tell and be able to deal with this, even because he has an observer up. He was totally spot on with what his opponent was trying to do. So he got his early observer, he got Stalkers, and it looks like he's going to be getting a second. Yes, there's the second observer, so his main is also going to be perfectly defended from this Banshee. This is a very solid position for White Red to be in, really. Looking at the income, he has really managed to succeed in keeping this base, despite the fact that 2 Banshees are up and they're sort of harassing around. They haven't really been able to do anything as far as economic damage, or just any damage at all. In fact, looking at the units lost, it is completely even. And at this point, that's fairly impressive for both players not to have lost anything. But I feel like Goody is in quite a bad position here, because at this point he has wanted to do quite a bit of economic damage due to the fact that he got the 2 early Banshees, and he's been up in White Rose Grill trying to do damage, and he hasn't been able to. That sets him back quite a bit, just due to the fact that he got those units to begin with, and he hasn't been able to do anything with them. So I'm going to say that White Rose is in a very solid position right here. Goody has not even got his natural up at all. His command center isn't even building. We look at the income tab, we see that while it's fairly even due to the mules, White Rose is quite a bit ahead, especially in the gas count, and that's going to really favor him later on in this game. We see quite a few warp gates coming up, as well as the Templar archives. We're going to see Storm coming out, and a lot of Templar probably. We only see 4 gates right now, and it looks like we're going to see an attack coming from Goody. It looks like he does know what sort of situation he is in, and he knows that he has to do some sort of economic damage, so we're going to see if he's going to be able to do so. He's going to put up a couple bunkers right at the entrance to White River's base. This is sort of like, not really an all-in, of course, due to the fact that he still has tons of mining. He's getting his natural. He's not banking all on this, but he is banking fairly heavily. So if he's not able to do a lot of damage here, it's going to send him up. It's going to send him very far behind. You see High Templar coming over here. Beautiful feedbacks, almost taking them down. Those Banshees are going to be able to be 1 or 2 hit later on. We see siege tanks coming up, and at this point, the positioning of this gap is really good for this natural, because siege tanks can just barely not hit this nexus, and I think that's really good thinking of whoever made this map, because you really don't want to give Terran that huge advantage. Small things like that, but it looks like there was a huge blunder on White Rose's part, and he wasn't microwaving his Stalkers at all, and he just lost 4 for nothing. This could be quite devastating for him. We see that his Nexus is getting taken down fairly quickly. He's going to be reinforcing, and it looks like he will be able to reinforce it. Force fields going out to stop those Marines from being able to get a very good position on the stars. But it's also going to hurt them because the Zealots couldn't reach. And that's never something you want to see as a Protoss player. We see 2 Banshees in here. They're doing a lot of damage. They don't have any energy for feedback. Good thing to note, if you're playing Terran and your opponent has Templar, just cloak and decloak a ton of times, and you won't have any energy for them to feedback. I figured out that trick fairly recently. Of course, they can still storm you like this, and it's absolutely devastating. Look at those Banshees. They just got rocked. So, Goody's in a very good position here as far as his frontal position in White Rose's face. But at the same time, it looks like there was one Zealot in Goody's natural that was sort of denying it, and it's done a fantastic job. Looking at the income, it's not even close. Even though that there's this huge force outside of White Rose's base, we see that he's still mining as if nothing was going on. He's still very much ahead in this game. He has quite a few minerals compared to his gas, which is never a really good situation to be in as any player, really. You really need the gas, but he's going to be able to go for Zealots, which will be fairly good against this composition if he can get in range, which he will be able to quite easily. And we see a tank got dropped from this medevac into the base itself, which is going to be able to do a lot of damage. We see a lot coming over. They're probably going to be able to take out this tank. It looks like this Archon will go down, though. That's pretty big. But this drop will also get cleaned up, and we'll see this medevac die as well. I don't like what Whiterah's doing here. He shouldn't be... Yeah, that was a big blunder by Whiterah. I feel like he was probably focusing on this more than likely. It's funny how he can do two things at once, and I can't even cast two things at once. It's just a little embarrassing. But yes, this would be why Whiterah was not able to defend that very well. He's over here being busy, being a baller, being able to deny this expo just a little longer. And he's still mining fully off this base. Income is showing that he's strongly ahead. He has 9 more workers. He's feeling great. We do see this push still being here. It's gotten quite a bit weaker though, but it still has the potential to ruin any sort of attack coming out of Whiterah. It's able to sort of contain him. Whiterah obviously likes his warp prisms, and he has one over here. It looks like it's been doing a bit of damage. It looks like he's actually going to be warping in some more units, probably taking down these rocks. Oh, but this Viking, no, they need a lot. Oh god, no, no! Oh my god, that was so good for Whiterah. Oh my god. Wow. Wow. I cannot believe that worked. I thought for sure that that warp prism was going to get taken down. There was all those units were going to die inside of it, but no, Whiterah manages to unload them just in time, and he has an Archon behind his opponent's natural now, which is always a fantastic spot to be. You always want an Archon in your opponent's face. It's a good feeling. We see a couple of Zealots coming over here. It looks like he'll be taking down these rocks. Goody looks like he does have an idea if he looks at the rocks themselves because they're taking damage. And it looks like the push that Goody had for such a long time finally gets cleaned up. Income is showing that Goody is vastly ahead at this point, mainly due to this large amount of mules. I feel if Goody has one major error in his play, it's that he always manages to get so much energy on his orbital. I guess he might be saving it in case there's High Templar or something, Dark Templar, but it might just be a blunder on his part. It looks like we'll see Whiterah double expanding, taking a very aggressive base right here, right next to his opponent's natural. At this point, he can do this though. He is in such a fantastic position. Looking at the units lost, oh my god. Never mind, Whiterah is not in the best of positions. I mean, Goody has lost half as many resources. This surprises me a lot. I guess it's due to this Banshee Harass. Perhaps it was better than I thought. The fact that the push was able to do quite a bit of damage. It looks like we will see this Banshee get cleaned up, and that'll be able to even it out a little bit. Actually, the Banshee flies away unharmed, but here comes a huge push, and Goody doesn't really have a ton to defend here. It looks like he will have enough. Whiterah will have to back out. But Whiterah now knows exactly what his opponent has, and he'll be able to do. He'll be able to build in response to what he has seen. And looking in his main base, he has 8 gates up. He has his Robo Bay up. He doesn't have Thermal Lance, but he will probably be getting a few Colossus. And Colossus, of course, are a huge part of any major Protoss engagement, middle and late game. So we're going to be able to see Whiterah use Colossus, hopefully to great effect. At the same time, Goody is doing a very good job of holding here. He has a bunch of tanks in position, and they're in fairly good positions, but I feel like his units are spread fairly thin, still even. We see that Whiterah is going to be going for a High Templar drop, maybe storming a bunch of workers. But the thing is, there's not that many workers to storm. I mean, if you get here and you get a bunch of storms, that's going to be cool, then that's going to win the game for Whiterah right then and there, due to the fact that Goody is only on this one base, and he has so many workers here. I feel like he's not in a very good spot at all. And that is obvious due to the fact that Whiterah has 4 bases up, totally uncontested. This is a fantastic spot to be in as any race. income is showing that White is again ahead, so even though he's lost this many more resources, he is way ahead as far as the economy game. He can afford to lose all this stuff. He's feeling really good about this, more than likely. He's feeling fairly confident. He knows that his opponent is contained. He knows that he can just macro up and just be able to push him as hard as he wants because he has all the map control. This is always a good situation to be as any race, especially as Protoss though, because both Terran and Zerg are very good at expanding and being able to hold positions fairly well due to the fact that their units don't need to be clumped up as much to be able to be extremely effective. And we do see that this command center is here. It looks like there's going to be a big push coming from Goody, trying to get uncontained. It looks like he will be able to do this. He'll be able to take this third. This is a lot of forces. You only see 3 tanks up, and 3 tanks can do a lot of damage, especially with this many ground forces, but the fact is that Goody is just in such a good spot still. Looking at the units, we see that actually the SCV count is fairly even for both players, worker count, but we see that White Res units are just, or workers are so much more spread out than his opponents. And that's going to be an excellent spot for him to be in. He's even destroying these rocks with this one cannon, giving you the job. That amuses me a little. I'll be totally honest. It looks like we're going to see White Red going for a big push from the back door of his opponent's base. This is a fantastic move by him. He knows where his opponent is. He knows exactly what's going on with him. He knows that he has a lot of tanks and that he really does not have a ton of mobility. So he will be using this to his advantage, bringing his units in here, going for a huge attack. To be able to do a lot of damage if Goody isn't able to do anything about it. Now it looks like Goody might not even be able to defend against this. He sees all the Colossus, doesn't see the other units. It looks like he will be unsieging and bringing back to his base. He might be able to defend, but this is a ton of units. One of the Colossus goes down. That's a big loss for Whiterun. But we see so many Zealots, so many High Templar, and by so many I mean one, and a bunch of Stalkers as well. And now we see a very similar situation to last game, where Whiterun was able to deny his opponent's last mining base. At this point, there's not much that Goody can do versus this. Even if he had the units to defend against, which he doesn't. Oh, that was a beautiful storm. Oh man, wow, yeah. Whiterun, just such solid play this game and the last game. Really fantastic player to watch. I wish I could play more like him, but of course I am not a pro. I'm not even half pro. I'm not even a quarter pro. You know the rest. I'm just here watching Whiterun and being in awe, and I love it. I'm glad that I could cast this game. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully I'll be able to do a whole bunch more of these and get better. I know I said something similar to this last time, so I'm just going to shut up and say this is Unoriginal, signing out.